The earliest civilization known to have existed in the Yhaunn Reach was the ancient empire of Jamda. Established in -5750, its capital, Narcolith, was situated in a valley by the Yhaunn River, which flowed into the Bay of Chondath. Over time, the empire expanded its territories, encompassing the Dragon Coast and Akanal at its zenith. However, under the rule of an expansionist emperor, the empire launched a brutal campaign against the elves of Nykaramath, resulting in widespread slaughter. In retaliation, the elves used high magic to unleash a colossal wave, obliterating Jamdath's cities and causing the empire's downfall. Unintentionally, this cataclysmic event also annihilated the sea elven realm of Aris Selmalier, buried beneath the debris of the wave's aftermath. The collapse of Aris Selmalier precipitated the Sixth Saros War due to the ensuing power vacuum. Despite the devastation, survivors of Jamdath persisted and established new settlements along the Yhaunn River, which gradually evolved into what would become known as the Chondathan Empire. In their ongoing conflict with the elves, Chondath, led by Laviar of the Imperial Illistine dynasty, dispatched an army into the Chondalwood. The expedition ended in a massacre, with only a few hundred soldiers managing to survive and return. Prior to the Year of the Blue Shield, around 400 DR, settlers from Chondath established the cities of Chondathan and Selgaunt within the land they now called Sembia. These settlements eventually evolved into the urban centers of Saerloon and Selgaunt, respectively. Men migrated to the Sea of Fallen Stars from the southern regions to these settlements, primarily drawn by the presence of vast amounts of exceptional quality timber, highly sought after for shipbuilding. However, as the forests were progressively cleared over time, tensions escalated between the human tree cutters and the elves, who became increasingly concerned about the potential depletion of their woodland habitat. Around the year 885, the Battle of the Singing Arrows occurred, pitting the elves residing in the forest of Cormanthor against a Sembian army, which also included Chondathan mercenaries. The conflict arose when the humans initiated extensive logging activities within elven territory, prompting a fierce response from the elves, who successfully drove back the invaders. The Rotting War, which occurred in Chondath from 900 to the Year of the Queen's Tears in 902, was a civil conflict between the coastal and inland cities of the nation. In 901, the war escalated when powerful archwizards from the cities of Arabar and Reth joined the fray, unleashing devastating Netherese magic that wrought havoc and death. The conflict reached a critical point in 902 when Reth's forces clashed with the combined armies of Arabar and Hlath in the fields of Noon. Seeking a swift victory, the rulers of Chondathan cities commanded their wizards to summon deadly necromantic plagues, resulting in the rapid demise of 2/3 of the Chondathan armies. Throughout the war, the battles were chronicled by 3 bards, each aligned with one of the 3 participating armies. These bards, later known as the Bards of Noon, independently recorded sightings of the Lord of Battles, Tempest, appearing on the fields of Noon before the decisive clash. His presence was interpreted as a favorable omen by the generals of all 3 armies. The aftermath of the Rotting War was catastrophic. Survivors of the Chondathan army carried the plague back to their homes, spreading disease throughout the region. Entire areas, including the Chondalwood, suffered devastating losses due to these mysterious plagues, leading to Arabar's diminished influence. As a result of this decline, the nation of Chondath relinquished its claims on the Sembian cities and fractured, with all of its cities declaring independence and reverting to their former status as loosely allied city-states. In 913, Sembia emerged as a true nation, coinciding with the discovery of the Sea of Fallen Stars mineral wealth by humans, with ambitions to establish a trade route through the Elven Woods, thereby positioning Sembia as the primary conduit for accessing this region's riches. Rauthavir, known as the Raven, acted as a lone envoy and approached the Elven court. He proposed the construction of a road under Elven control, assuring them that no woodcutting or human settlement would encroach upon the surrounding woods. While the elves had previously made similar agreements with other groups like the Dalesmen, the residents of Velarsdale, now Harrowdale, rejected this proposal, citing a lack of necessity. Despite this setback, the Raven pressed the Elven court, warning of dire consequences for the elves and Amathoi if cooperation was not granted. Faced with this ultimatum, the elves reluctantly consented, securing Sembia's economic future. Hillsfar and Elventree emerged as key trading hubs between humans and elves, with the chosen route passing by the Standing Stone, a symbol of prior, more amicable interactions between the two races. Over time, the elves of Amathoi either integrated with their kin or embarked on journeys to Evermeet, allowing their woodlands to gradually fade away. Under the guidance of the sagacious merchant leaders like Saer and Selgar, Sembia prospered. Before his passing, the Raven established a council of merchant elders to advise future leaders and prevent the consolidation of power through force. Despite his role in the nation's creation, the Raven's ultimate fate is shrouded in mystery, as he rode north into the Elven woods and disappeared without a trace. His final resting place is known only to a few select Elder Elves. Positioned strategically on the Sea of Fallen Stars' northwestern shore, Sembia acts as a mediator between northern and southern Faerun. While the Gentarim of the Moonsea engage in trade with other realms, Sembia views them as less of a threat due to their reliance on Sembian ports, particularly Ordolan. Instead, Sembia regards the Red Wizards of Thay as a principal concern, wary of their magical commercial practices encroaching on Sembian markets with goods beyond replication. The Council of Sembia remains vigilant against Thayan magical influence, prioritizing the safeguarding of economic interests. Sembia is characterized by seasoned merchants adept at retaining power and ambitious young traders vying for their share of influence. The Sembians take pride in the art of negotiation, preferring to gain advantage through shrewd deals rather than resorting to deceit or dishonesty. While Sembia may not wield as much control over Faerun's trade as the dynamics of commerce hold a greater sway over Sembia. In contrast to the lawlessness prevalent in the Moonsea cities and the Pirate Isles, Sembians generally adhere to legal principles governing contracts, debts, and interest payments. However, they often exploit loopholes with precision, leveraging legal frameworks to their advantage. Perceiving itself as a youthful, assertive, and expansionist nation, Sembia has annexed Moondale, rechristening it as Ordolan, a new capital fitting its aspirations of greatness. Yet internal rivalries among the Sembian elite hinder cohesive foreign policy or the emergence of a singular warlord. Sembia epitomizes a realm driven by wealth and an insatiable desire for more. Unlike the flamboyant displays of riches and ostentatious Sembia is characterized by its pragmatic pursuit of profit, where costers and clandestine factions thrive alongside cults and risky endeavors born of boredom or desperation. As long as there are coins elsewhere in Faerun that could find their way into Sembian pockets, the people remain restless. Gossip about Faerun and their neighbors is a common pastime, reflecting their preoccupation with status and commerce. Urban dwellers wield significant influence in Sembian society, and citizens of all stripes look down upon those from other cities. Esteem is accorded to established wealth due to its extensive networks and within Sembia's self-appointed aristocracy. Corruption and incompetence are tolerated as long as certain boundaries are not crossed. Associations with pirates, for instance, incurs heavy penalties and social ostracization. Most Sembian city guards are paid sufficiently to resist bribery, trained in combat, subterfuge, etiquette, and navigating the intricate webs of intrigue in the nation. Consequently, they rarely resort to heavy-handed tactics and command widespread respect among the population. The climate in Sembia varies, with scorching summers, rainy springs and autumns, and harsh, windy winters that often lead to frozen harbors for months at a time. Sembian nobles own extensive estates in the northern and northwestern countryside, boasting sprawling farms, wooded hunting grounds, breeding stables, and opulent lodges. Gnomes residing in western Sembia are specialized in brewing mint ale, a beloved beverage that found its way into taverns across the Forgotten Realms. Additionally, Sembian cities are renowned for hosting cooking competitions, which are a common feature of feasts and festivals coinciding with market days. Contestants compete for prizes, often promoting vendors who supply ingredients used in these competitions. Savory pies and sausages are perennial favorites among bulk orders placed by eateries, as well as fest halls, nobles' estates, and fortresses. Winning these culinary contests bestows prestige upon the victors, making them highly sought-after individuals by local and foreign noble houses, regents, upscale eateries, and other affluent patrons. Sembia's prosperity belies a darker underbelly of security and wealth, characterized by a culture of arrogance, ruthlessness, and cutthroat competition steeped in commercial intrigue. While outwardly tolerant of diverse races, appearances, and customs, Sembians harbor deep-seated prejudices, looking down upon the poor, outlanders, and particularly elves, though they grudgingly respect wealthier and successful entities such as Thay, Waterdeep, and Westgate. In Sembia, coins wield immense influence, instantly forging alliances or severing ties. The threat of violence lurks in the shadows, with daggers, stranglers' cords, and poison posing significant dangers to life and limb. However, such methods are employed sparingly, as wizards for hire and intrusive spells commissioned by local rulers constantly surveil business dealings. Corruption is an accepted norm, with rumors of city rulers colluding with external powers like Thaens, Gentarim, or other enigmatic entities. While underhanded dealings are admired, outright theft or arson is condemned, and justice is often swift and severe. Outsiders seeking to establish themselves in Sembia face scrutiny and hostility, particularly if they deviate from the local human cultural norms. Business rivals seize upon any perceived difference to spread unfavorable rumors, as Sembians are quick to shun perceived sneaking outlanders. Kidnappings for hire, the employment of hire spell wizards for espionage or casting harmful spells, and debtors indentured into near slavery to settle debts are all prevalent in Sembia's shadowy underbelly. The upland woods, hunting estates, and abandoned mansions of Battledale teem with Sembian outlaws, individuals ruined or cast aside by the unforgiving rules of the merchant kingdom. In the Pirate Isles, small numbers of corsairs plagued the inner sea year after year, but none of these were of any great note until the rise of the first great pirate leader. Legend has it that Imric's first notable crime occurred when he brazenly stole the newly crafted crown intended for King Pallegard I's coronation in the Year of Long Shadows, 1164. The audacity of the theft initially led King Pallegard to suspect foul play by the Procompin master jewelers, nearly sparking a war with Procompor before the truth came to light and the crown was recovered. In response to Imric's continued piracy, the coastal nations of the Inner Sea banded together to commission a fleet of swift warships designed by expert shipwrights from and Tethir. However, despite their efforts, Imric's elusive tactics, combined with his network of spies and informants known as Imric's Band, thwarted 9 attempts by naval forces to apprehend him. His ability to sow dissent and distract his pursuers further complicated the task of bringing him to justice. In 1182, Imric and Crown Prince Talrin of Lyrabar established a settlement on Dragon Isle, which became known as Imric's Hold, a haven for pirates and sailors seeking improved working conditions and wages in the Inner Sea region. That same year, Imric attempted a daring heist of the entire Navy fleet of Westgate, exploiting the city's lax entry laws. However, the attempt, known as the Rout of the Pirate King, ended in failure as the Navy successfully defended against the attack, sinking several of Imric's captured ships with a barrage of fireballs and smoke powder explosives. At one juncture, Imric enlisted the services of the mage Seldson from Procompor to create a spell bearing his name, known as Imric's Distraction. When cast on a specific item and concealed, the spell clouds the mind of those within a radius of the object searching for it, rendering them unable to locate it. If the item is concealed within a container or beneath another object, affected individuals do not consider opening the container or looking underneath. Even if instructed to do so by someone unaffected by the spell, they still cannot find it. Only items in plain sight are discoverable under the effects of the spell. In 1201, Imric met his demise while navigating his ship, the Sea Scorpion, through a perilous passage filled with treacherous reefs during a confrontation with the Sembian warship. As sudden winds threatened to overturn the vessel and expose the crew to danger, Imric skillfully guided them through the perilous waters and ensured their safe passage. However, his heroic effort came at a tragic cost, as he succumbed to a fatal heart attack, slumping over at the helm. The death of Imric the Invincible inadvertently sparked a power struggle among the pirates of the Inner Sea, leading to a period of conflict known as the Pirate Wars. These wars consisted of intense naval battles and ruthless raids on coastal nations throughout the region. Erdogan succeeded Imric as the ruler of the Pirate Isles in 1204 at the conclusion of the Pirate Wars. His relentless raids caused such extensive devastation that in 1209, Cormyr, Sembia, Impiltor, and the Yhaunn Reach united forces to launch a decisive assault against him at Dragon Isle. Facing the destruction of all his ships, Erdogan fled aboard his final vessel, vowing an enduring vengeance upon the Inner Sea. However, he soon encountered mysterious mists that enveloped him and transported him to the plane of Ravenloft. In this new realm, Erdogan transformed into a specter and cursed his crew, binding them to an existence of undeath. Over time, he ascended to become a minor lord in Ravenloft, but remained consumed by his thirst for revenge. During moonless nights, shrouded in thick fog, Erdogan returns to Faerun to prey upon unsuspecting ships, only to be driven back to his domain at the break of dawn. The nation of Sembia is composed of a series of mostly autonomous city-states and several powerful mercantile companies. These companies focus primarily on facilitating trade between the cities and nations of Faerun and Greater Toril. They typically operate caravans along trade routes or maintain ships for transporting goods by water. Depending on their scale, they may possess warehouses, stables, and hire guards. The term priakos has declined in usage, while koster has gained prominence for these organizations. At first glance, the Iron Throne focused on the trade of weapons across different regions of Faerun. Although they appeared to aim for a monopoly in arms dealing, their true ambition lay in leveraging their military influence to attain greater authority and dominion over the Heartlands. They employed underhanded methods such as banditry and assassination to eliminate their competitors. There were allegations that they engaged in illicit activities, including the trafficking of poisons, smoke powder, and other banned substances. The organization was established by the fiendish assassin Svenna in the year of the Bright Blade 1347 as an attempt to negotiate the removal of a personal affliction. It swiftly burgeoned, dominating the arms trade and branching out into broader commercial ventures, competing with other merchant houses such as the Seven Sons Costers and the Firehands Group. A decade later, in the year of the Prince 1357, the Iron Throne dispatched communiques to rulers and heads of state across the eastern and western heartlands, proclaiming its intention to monopolize the trade and distribution of weapons in those extensive territories. One notable acquisition of power occurred through an alliance with the wizard Kasana of Westgate, who provided the Iron Throne with a summoned creature named Kalmari. This entity, acting alone, incinerated the Northgate Inn, disrupting trade and effectively delivering control of the Shadow Gap to the Iron Throne. Understandably, This maneuver incited discontent among regional lords and competing mercantile enterprises. In the city of Marpenoth, in the year of the Shield, 1367, the Cormyrean branches of the Iron Throne were shuttered, and the organization was prohibited from conducting business within the kingdom for over a year, following a royal edict issued by King Yhaunn IV himself. In the year of the Unstrung Harp, 1371, Svenna mysteriously vanished from Toril, leaving only one of her top officers aware of her fate. Unbeknownst to most, Mawredi, the Eye of the Iron Throne, orchestrated her disappearance, believing that the organization could thrive without her presence. Mawredi brokered her location to her father, a formidable lord among the devils, who had her abducted and transported to his domain in the Nine Hells. With Svenna's absence, the Iron Throne descended into chaos, losing its grip on the arms trade. Internal strife among its leadership ensued, each vying for control. Krakosh, known as the Foot of the Iron Throne, quelled the discord through the threat force emerging as their new leader. Though the Iron Throne avoided complete dissolution, it suffered a severe weakening, empowering its rivals. Despite his titular leadership, his true desire was to locate and rescue Svenna. Mawredi, seizing the opportunity, assumed control of the organization's day-to-day operations, manipulating his quest for power while plotting this eventual takeover. In the year of the lightning storms, 1374, the Baldur's Gate branch of the Iron Throne faced complete ruin. The Council of Four commissioned the noble adventurer Dabron Shasenstar to dismantle the organization's influence within the city. Shasenstar apprehended Raeltar Anchev, revealing him as Riktar the Red Man, a renowned assassin for the arm of the Iron Throne. Through his negotiations with Tooth of the Knights of the Shield, Shasenstar uncovered the Iron Throne's origins and arranged for Svenna to be transported to the realm of the Hidden Lord Gargoth. Consequently, the chaos spells controlling her former lieutenants began to dissipate. In 1374, the remaining Iron Throne leaders convened in a secret meeting and orchestrated the assassination of several representatives of the Merchants' League associated with House Shasenstar. However, their malevolent scheme was thwarted as they themselves fell victim to the Gentarim. News of these killings surfaced in Cutthroat. Following a failed assault on the Merchant League's headquarters in Arabel, the Iron Throne was officially declared disbanded. Yhaunn is a coastal city in Sembia, constructed upon an ancient quarry site, and stands as the oldest settlement in the region. Despite its age, it maintains a distinct character compared to other major cities in Sembia, exuding a lively yet compact ambiance. Due to spatial constraints, Yhaunn's urban development primarily ascends vertically rather than spreading horizontally. The basin is densely populated with 3, 4, and even 5-story half-timbered structures, with green spaces being a rare sight. To mitigate fire hazards in the densely packed blocks, every 7th building is mandated to be constructed entirely of stone by city decree. Many buildings extend over the streets to maximize space, with the Stiltways district representing the apex of this architectural style. Here, interconnected buildings form elevated walkways and bridges, relegating the ground level to a damp, shadowed slum, while the upper floors host luxurious establishments. Approaching from land, Yhaunn remains hidden from view, with only a lantern-lit glow illuminating the surroundings at night. Surrounding cliffs accommodate opulent villas and estates owned by the wealthiest merchants, adorned with well-lit streets and hanging plant baskets. As the basin slopes towards the sea, prosperity diminishes, resulting in darker streets and increasingly crowded buildings intermingled with inns, shops, and shared-door apartment flats. Much of the portside area borders on slum conditions, with only the commercial harbor receiving proper upkeep. Notably, Cormyrean aristocrats hold significant property investments in Yhaunn, potentially making them the most influential landlords in the city. In terms of society, the city's inhabitants adopt a relaxed and practical demeanor, prioritizing tolerance over snobbery and mercantilism. Conversely, residents of Selgaunt and Saerloon often view Yhaunn as less fortunate and disadvantaged. In terms of climate, the coastal city experiences persistent winds throughout the year, which whip up waves and erode the cliffs. Summers are particularly hot and humid, exacerbated by the tightly packed buildings that obstruct the cooling sea breeze, though elevated areas, like the sky's mantle, can catch some winds. In winter, temperatures drop considerably, with stretches of the coast, especially the shallow tide pools, susceptible to freezing, posing additional hazards to travelers. The surrounding lands of Yhaunn have been cultivated into farmlands and pastures, bordered by hedgerows and inhabited by various creatures such as foxes, mice, badgers, and small birds. Toads and frogs are prevalent and cherished by locals for their melodious croaking, which is often immortalized in poetry. They also serve as informal guardians, ceasing their croaking when intruders approach. The coastal regions, north and south of the city, are generally inhospitable to flora and fauna due to the relentless wind and waves, though conditions become somewhat milder towards the south near Selgaunt. In terms of governance, the city ostensibly falls under the jurisdiction of the Nessarch, a mayor figure elected by the Fives Council, who serves for life. The Fives Council is comprised of the first 75 property-owning merchants to enter chambers during a session and secure seats at the 15 five-seater roundtables, and they effectively govern the city. Additionally, a small community of merfolk reside nearby in Yhaunn Bay, although they tend to remain isolated from surface dwellers. The city is a prominent port and hub of commerce, exporting various manufactured goods like textiles, wickerwork, and bricks. The Glasscrafters' Hall fostered skilled artisans renowned for crafting the city's famous glassware. The city serves as a crucial conduit for goods, moving between the Sea of Fallen Stars and the Dale Lands, as well as serving as the primary port for the capital Ordolan. Despite the inhospitable coastal conditions, there is limited coastal settlement, with scattered fishermen coexisting alongside land-facing farmers and estate holders seeking scenic views. Piracy, though not always lucrative, was a relatively common profession practiced on the scarce landing spots. Nevertheless, large-scale fishing operations persist south of Yhaunn, where waters are intensively exploited. Saerloon boasts a bustling port on the aptly named Saerloon Bay, teeming with activity well into the night. The city sprawls across every available waterfront, voraciously claiming each parcel of land as invaluable. At the northern tip of the Saerloon harbor sits a Thayan compound, visibly shunned by the locals, evident by its isolation. Saerloon's urban sprawl extends well beyond its fortified walls. Travelers approaching the city encounter numerous inns, taverns, stockyards, and stables long before reaching the old city's gates. The vibrant neighborhoods outside the walls exude a medley of scents, from smoke and cooking meats to animal dung and the odors of various industries like smelters, tanneries, and paper presses. Within the walls lies Old Saerloon, renowned for its Gothic architecture, characterized by high-pointed arches, blade-like buttresses, and tall needle spires, as well as rooftops adorned with gargoyles. While many visitors find the sight of Old Saerloon magnificent, some perceive an underlying sense of foreboding. The city is adorned with grand stone-carved statues, fountains, and sculpted trees replacing natural foliage. The city's layout is sprawling and somewhat disorganized. Two large open plaza markets serve as the primary landmarks amidst an otherwise maze-like set of streets. The larger North Market, adorned with high-pillared statues of Saer, the city's namesake, lies a few blocks from the city walls. In contrast, the smaller Dolphin Market, located south near to the bustling docks, is characterized by its noisy and chaotic atmosphere, filled with crooked fish stalls. A cluster of grand old mansions on the city's north side have fallen into disrepair and abandonment, earning the moniker the Dowagers. These 27 derelict estates have become havens for freeloaders, predatory landlords, and various unsavory characters. Some were repurposed as storehouses by ambitious merchants, while others gained notoriety for alleged hauntings. In addition to its humanoid inhabitants, Saerloon boasts a thriving population of fat bluster birds, whose markings adorn many of the city's stone trees and sculptures. Among these sculptures are rare magical creatures known as gargoyles, which serve the city's spellcasters. Situated in a temperate climate zone, Saerloon experiences snowfall during the winter months and frequent ice fogs. The city is governed nominally by a merchant prince who ultimately answers to a council. This council, known as the Council of Sembia, or the Consortium of Princes, jointly rules over Saerloon, Selgaunt, and technically all of Sembia. They dispatch ambassadors to neighboring nations like Cormyr to negotiate trade and military agreements. As a bustling shipping hub, Saerloon levies significant import taxes, earning notoriety among merchants. Many of the city's grand structures are constructed using imported stone from Yhaunn. Saerloon also boasts a bustling industrial sector producing leather, paper, and metals. Aurora's Emporium is renowned for selling clothes made from Dairlunian wool and linen, as well as children's wooden string puppets and marionettes crafted by Saerloon's String Pullers Guild. Notable puppet likenesses include King Azun Oberskir IV, Vangur de Hast Iolvana, and the bard entity Finder Wyvernspur. Another popular export from Saerloon is Saerloona's dried raisins, sold at Aurora's for a gold coin per pound. Saerloon is also known for its wines, including Saerloonian Special Vat, Saerloonian Glowfire, and Saerloonian Topaz, among many others. The city prides itself on its sophisticated high society, characterized by exquisite, exotic, and diverse tastes, as well as a strong emphasis on culture and education. It bustles with activity, with most residents immersed in daily life in various trades. Like in other Sembian city, Saerloonian humans harbor a historical distrust of elves, stemming from the region's tumultuous rivalry with the inhabitants of Cormanthor and the ancient city of Mithranor. Throughout its history, many citizens cautiously conceal their valuables in attics, caches, rooftops, and cellars, fearing threats from the north or south. Savvier inhabitants stash valuables outside the city walls, although treasures hidden within are often discovered by adventurers, thieves, and explorers, much to the delight of those who uncovered enchanted items or precious stone-encrusted regalia. Imbairla Narddragon of Saerloon penned the renowned play Seven Swords of Snarlclash in 1312, which has earned its place among the famous Seven, a collection of the most popular and influential plays performed in the Faerunian heartland. Religiously, Saerloon actively seeks to attract churches with limited presence in the region to bolster its population and influence. The city offers incentives such as free land, tax breaks, and exemptions from certain laws, allowing churches to operate under their own holy laws and dogma. This policy facilitates the growth and prosperity of the churches of Mistra and Azuth, attracting numerous practitioners of magic. Noble families in Saerloon are supported by the city's elders in hosting powerful clerics of these magic-oriented deities. In terms of defense, Saerloon boasts a guard force of approximately 7,000 helms of Sembia, tasked with patrolling the city and its surrounding areas, including roads, farms, and waterways. The guard utilizes 11 major ships for patrolling duties. The city is also home to many skilled wizards, who normally engage in trade and investment, however can sometimes be conscripted if needed. The city of Selgaunt acquired its name following the passing of the esteemed Sembian merchant, King Selgar. The city stands where the Arkan River meets the inner sea, sometimes dubbed the Selgaunt Bay by locals lacking in knowledge. East of the city's sprawl are unattractive, barren beaches, unfit for cultivation and lacking in appeal save for minor fishing spots and docks. The coastline within the city mirrors this desolate aesthetic. In the waters of the so-called Selgaunt Bay, one can often find tranquil pods of dolphins, alongside 3 prominent Kuatoa layers. southern coastal areas are frequently threatened by Selgaunt assaults, while sharks pose another problem. Fishers from Selgaunt commonly encounter raiks and sizable, speckled, seedy octopuses. Nearby sandy shores harbor a lethal breed of venomous aquatic serpents unique to the region. The Arkan River holds aggressive water weirds. The city's skyline and magical laboratories are inhabited by rare gargoyles, loyal to the arcane practitioners of the city. The Temple Avenue in Selgaunt boasts dwarf maples adorning public seating areas, with vibrant red and yellow foliage in autumn. These trees attract numerous starlings, whose droppings often decorate marble statues of mythical creatures. As is common in urban sewer systems, Selgaunt sewers are home to rats, vermin, and even aquatic vampires in deep alcoves. The sewage flows northeastward, draining into the Selgaunt Bay. Selgaunt's most striking feature is the remarkable design of its impressive edifices and intricately adorned residences. The city boasts grand castles, temples, brownstone tall houses, bustling marketplaces, emporia, and elegant mansions, all enveloped by verdant parks, meticulously sculpted topiaries, ornate statuary, decorative pools, and an array of intricate fountains. Among these, the Palace of the Yhaunn stands as the city's crown jewel, its numerous spires visible from afar. Enclosed within the towering, well-guarded walls, the hunting garden serves as the Yhaun's private wildlife preserve, accessible only to the royal family and esteemed guests. The luxurious mansions of the city's venerable noble families, known as the Old Chancel, adorn the district surrounding the palace. Many of Selgaunt's grand structures are crafted from imported quarried Yhaunn stone. The city comprises several districts, each with its own character and purpose. The Warehouse District, situated in the southeast and adjacent to the Dock District to the southwest, serves as a hub for storage and trade. The Foreign District, dominated by warehouses and taverns, caters to merchants and adventurers meticulously patrolled by the scepters of Selgaunt. Cobblestone-paved Ronsel's Ride serves as the main thoroughfare, leading from the Foreign District to the Temple Avenue, where a grand granite archway marks the entrance to the Avenue of the Temples, adorned with shrines and major temples to various deities. The Oxblood Quarter, located 2 blocks from Selgaunt's western gate, is another notable district. In the 1300s, the wealthier districts of Selgaunt, following a trend seen in other major cities, began constructing tall house buildings to accommodate the growing population. These narrow tenements, owned by single individuals, house multiple households on separate floors. Myron Street, or Shop Street, is the epicenter of mercantile activity, bustling with 2-storied shops and street vendors offering a plethora of goods. Travelers entering Selgaunt through the northern Claren Gate are greeted by the spacious high bridge spanning the Arkan River. This bridge, flanked by homes, buildings, a tavern, and a fish market, is a bustling thoroughfare, with the main thoroughfare separating rows of houses on either side. Until the late 14th century, Selgaunt was governed by a hereditary merchant prince known as the Yhaunn. However, by the Year of Shadows, 1358, other factions wielded the true power. These include the Knights of Selgaunt, who answer to the authorities in the capital city of Ortolan, and influential local merchant houses. The Council of Sembia, also known as the Consortium of Princes, jointly rules over Saerloon, Selgaunt, and nominally the rest of Sembia. During the 14th century, power resided with the Yhaunn and the Old Chancel, the ancient nobility of the city. Laws in Selgaunt permit the nobility to engage in formal duels, impromptu brawls, and occasional warfare amongst themselves. However, murder of one's guests or resorting to violence in supposedly friendly competitions is deemed unacceptable. The city is home to a thriving underworld engaged in all manner of illicit activities. In 1367, a new beverage called Selgite ice wine gained popularity across Sembia, introduced by Galavar Brasseltar. Local musical instruments, such as violins, rebecks, and harpsichords, are exported widely. Despite having a sewer system, a group known as night carters hold the lowest jobs in Selgaunt, scraping waste off the streets and selling it to farmers for minimal profit. Cut gemstones serve as a preferred alternative currency in Selgaunt due to their ease of transportation and guarding, leading to the development of a sizable black market dealing in stolen precious stones. Possibly the most affluent city in all of Sembia, Selgaunt is a vibrant metropolis known for its high fashion, extravagant pageantry, and bold demeanor typical of the Eastern Heartlands. Its inhabitants perceive themselves as paragons of sophistication, viewing their city as the pinnacle of civilization across the Forgotten Realms. The city boasts a thriving community of artists, dancers, and musicians, constantly staging new plays enriched with choreographed dances and harmonious choral performances. Paintings, sculptures, and carved statues are abundant and highly valued, often traded with other cities. Music permeates Selgaunt's atmosphere, with its citizens adeptly singing and whistling intricate melodies. Live performances are commonplace in taverns, inns, and noble residences, featuring popular instruments like glaurs, zulkoons, and thelars. Fashion trends among the nobility are ever-changing, with events such as pastorales showcasing elaborate costumes and immersive experiences. To regulate time, Selgaunt employs a cadre of hour callers who announce the hours loudly in the streets, while Malil's Temple of Song houses a massive bell that tolls hourly. Selgauntian cuisine reflects a taste for luxury, with imported wines and sumptuous dishes like nut-roasted goose gracing noble feasts. Spicy fried foods are commonplace alongside fruits like sunmelon and grapes, used in various culinary delights. The city is renowned for its rich candies, known for their bold flavors. Selgauntian culinary practice include a unique measurement system where the term dice denotes a uniform cube of butter, facilitating precise kitchen work. In terms of social relations, Selgauntians harbor disdain for neighboring regions, regarding them as uncouth savages. They hold particularly negative views of Kalingshan for their perceived pretentiousness and Cormier for their lack of refinement. Even within Sembia, other cities like Ortolan and Saerloon are looked down upon as lacking in significance and vitality. The hunting gardens of the Yhaunn belong to the city's hereditary merchant prince. Enclosed by high walls, this private land features a dense wild wood, serving as the Yhaun's exclusive hunting grounds. Within, one can find various game and exotic creatures like hippogriffs, griffins, and sphinxes. Situated in the northeastern part of Selgaunt, these expansive gardens stand beneath the towering palace of the Yhaunn. Accessible only to him and his guests, the gardens occasionally attract daring individuals who manage to infiltrate them through the city's sewers. Over the years, the hunting gardens have hosted numerous social gatherings at the merchant lord's behest. In the year of the Wave, 1364, an unusual event occurred involving the Mask of Mysteries, a famed artifact. For 9 years prior, this mask had been seen in Selgaunt, worn by a mysterious figure known only as the Masked Lady during noble gatherings. While the lady's identity remained unknown, it was evident that the mask belonged to one of Selgaunt's noble families. The incident unfolded as a thief tried to steal jewelry from the Masked Lady. As the thief removed the artifact, the lady's face transformed, revealing writhing tentacles akin to those of a mind flayer, albeit gray and ending in menacing teeth. The aberrant creature devoured the unfortunate thief's face and hands before fleeing into the night, taking the Mask of Mysteries with her. Before 1367, a wealthy and influential wizard named Osper Linthalum showcased his power by using his staff to destroy a pirate ship attempting to raid a merchant's warehouse in Selgaunt. This display of wizardry left a lasting impression on the people, with this event often commemorated in poetry and songs across taverns in Sembia. In the year of the Banner, 1368, a notorious thief named Polythax infiltrated the palace of the Yhaunn disguised as a cleaning girl. Despite being caught by Andeth Ilchamber, the ruling Yhaunn at the time, Polly used her charm to access the eyes of the Sea Queen, 2 valuable pearls. While Andeth was distracted, Polly knocked her out and escaped with the pearls. As she fled aboard her ship in Selgaunt's harbor, a pursuing guard vessel gave chase. Unbeknownst to most, the goddesses Timora and Bishaba were causing chaos on Toril. Fueled by Bishaba's ill luck, a massive wave surged into the Sea of Falling Stars, crashing into Selgaunt's harbor and destroying much of the city's waterfront. Polythax's ship was engulfed by a second, even larger wave, resulting in no survivors. The year of the tankard, 1370, witnessed a troubling increase in abductions by the Eyeless Mask, an organization dedicated to enslaving spellcasters. One victim, Blanchard Wyvernwalk, was killed during a failed abduction. Later in the same year, the aquatic elf cities of Selu Marar and Naramir established trade routes with Suzail of Cormyr and Selgaunt of Sembia. Later in 1370, Thay was also permitted to establish an enclave in Selgaunt. In 1372, with assistance from his son, Shade Prince Rivellin, Lord Telemont facilitated the return of the Thultan Thar enclave to the prime material plane, thereby initiating the re-establishment of the Netheril Empire. Since its return, the enclave has predominantly hovered above the northwestern expanse of the Shadow Sea in the Anaruk Desert. In 1374, Rivellin and his brother Brennus masterminded a scheme that brought Sembia under the control of the Netherese Empire as a vassal state. Additionally, the fallen enclave of Sakors was razed once again that year and subsequently fully reconstructed and revitalized. On the 1st of Nightall, Ariel Raven, a Sharan priestess, evoked a planar rift into the plane of shadow. From this rift emerged a nexus known as the Adumbral Calyx, which unleashed devastation upon the Sembian capital of Ordolan. Kessenrel emerged from this nexus and began animating the deceased, incorporating them into his army. The once thriving city was reduced to nothing but a perilous vortex of uncontrolled shadow substance. Shar, the goddess behind this calamity, had commanded its execution to pave the way for the destruction of all Toril. However, the god Mask intervened by confining her within the Ordolan maelstrom. Furious at her imprisonment, Shar worked slowly to breach it, creating a rift into the void that posed a threat to the entire planet. She was accompanied by ghostly undead and received visits solely from Rivellin Tanthul. The same year, Thamelon Usbreven II assumed the role of Yhaunn of Selgaunt. However, unrest in Sembia signaled the potential outbreak of civil war. Fearing dire consequences, Selgaunt opted to form an alliance and establish trade agreements with the Netherese in the hopes that he could profit and avoid the fate of Ordolan. Saerloon employed teleportation circles to transport its armies to the gates of Selgaunt, leading to the eruption of the Battle of Selgaunt. Despite Saerloon's allegiance to the Green Dragon, Vendemniharan, Selgaunt emerged victorious thanks to the assistance of the Princes of Shade. The forces of Saerloon were defeated and taken captive. When the Spell Plague ravaged the land in the Year of Blue Fire, 1385, the cliffs and slopes surrounding the city of Yhaunn fractured and collapsed, ascending into the sky alongside the remnants of upper-class mansions that were built upon them. The cataclysm claimed the lives of nearly 10,000 individuals, yet the city eventually recuperated with the aid of their Shadowvar overlords. Over time, the floating land masses, known as Earthmotes, were once again inhabited and transformed into the Air District, boasting opulent mansions. The highest Earthmotes now garner the greatest prestige. During the 15th century, an enigmatic dungeon was discovered beneath Selgaunt. This intricate structure linked numerous cellars throughout the city, housing treasures and traps that were curiously non-lethal. Despite speculation, the origins and purpose of these dungeons is still a mystery, with some suggesting they were the handiwork of illithids for sinister motives. Additionally, a vibrant merchant named Horlu from the Abyss started appearing in Sembian cities like Selgaunt and Saerloon through concealed gates. This new rival provoked the ire of local traders who attempted to eliminate him. In retaliation, the abyssal merchant poisoned wine casks intended for his adversaries' households, resulting in the deaths of many of his opponents and innocent bystanders in the city. Ulamspir is a city in southern Sembia, marked chiefly by its harsh treatment under the Shadowvar's rule. Enveloped in dark magical clouds, conjured by a Netherese archmage, the curse remained impervious to dispelling attempts. It is renowned for its skilled glassblowers and boasts some of Faerun's finest artisans. Excluding Ortolan, which was destroyed completely, the city suffered the most profoundly during the early stages of the Netherese conquest. Once celebrated as a city of temples, it welcomed visitors from across Faerun as cherished guests. However, when the Shadowvar imposed a decree banning the worship of any deity except Shar, the merchant princes vehemently resisted, leading to catastrophic consequences. Temples and noble residences alike were engulfed in magical flames, while the merchant princes, their entourages and families, were either abducted into the shadow or enslaved by opportunistic individuals who rose in stature under the new Netherese authority. Cormyr extended aid to the city by lending a company of purple dragon knights for its defense. They provided material support to the merchants resisting Netherese rule. Eventually, the city gained its independence from Sembia and therefore their Netherese overlords. Since then, the city has struggled to reclaim its former glory, with temples and noble estates gradually re-emerging, but failing to attain their former prominence. Vestiges of Sembian influence persist, evidenced by lingering shadow creatures haunting certain areas and an enduring shroud of clouds. Nevertheless, trade has resumed through the city's ports since Cormyr enforced its mandate for the city's autonomy. To safeguard its newfound freedom, a contingent of Cormyrian purple dragons is stationed within the city to ward off potential threats. However, the true peril to the city's sovereignty likely lies in clandestine schemes rather than overt assaults. For the remainder of the 15th century, Thamelon Uskevrin II served as Hulorn of Selgaunt, later assuming the role of Chief Administrator of Sembia, known as the Lord High Governor. His physical form underwent a transformation into a shade. Despite encountering challenges like demon cults and resistance factions opposing the Princes of Shade, most opposition was quelled by the Netherese, and they had consolidated their power by around 1482. In 1484, following the onset of the Second Sundering, Toril experienced a series of natural disasters. During this tumultuous period, Sembia launched a full-scale invasion of the Dale lands, prompting the Dale folk to seek assistance from Cormyr. Meanwhile, Netheril mobilized its forces along the borders of Cormyr, sparking a conflict that forced the nation to engage enemies on both fronts. The subsequent year witnessed the Bedain of Anaruk rising up against their Netherese overlords, triggering widespread uprisings across central and northern Faerun. With the elves of Mithranor lending aid to the Heartland's nations, Sembian forces were repelled, allowing Cormyr to reclaim its lost territories. With the fall of the Netherese Empire after their failed invasion of Mithranor, Sembia has freed itself from the influence of their masters from the Shadow Plane. The nation is now in recovery from the Netherese Occupation and is economically frail and politically scattered. Cormyr, victorious in their war with Sembia and Netheril, did not invade their lands. However, alongside Cormyr and several Dale nations, Sembia has made innumerable external enemies through their harsh treatment, wars, and occupations, who now see not only their territorial ambitions, but even their economic endeavors as a potential threat. Despite these challenges, Sembians remain as opportunistic and arrogant as ever. The nation still proudly wears the influence of their Jamdathan heritage, but still view themselves as a young and rising power. The cities of Sembia, while never truly united, represent some of the most powerful political and economic forces in the Faerunian heartlands. Sembia doesn't need the trust of its neighbors to thrive, only their trade. As long as there remains a profit to be made and laws to protect them, the Sembians will continue upholding their reputation as the cutthroat merchant cities of the Forgotten Realms.